This is just a rumor. We actually have a little bit of breaking news, guys. So I'm going to chime in. Let's get the FanDuel read out of the way, and then we got an update on Ben Lively, which could be an issue. I don't know if you guys saw this yet. We'll talk about it in a sec. But summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet on it all with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP award to who's going to hit one out of the ballpark. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Anthony's also working from home today, so it's literally just me and you two. So it's a three-man show with Director Steve. So apologies if tag board or anything's moving slow. So we don't have the update from Paul Hoynesy, who tweeted out the article a second ago. But he said, Guardians right-hander Ben Lively returning from road trip to undergo test on a possible injury.
Yeah.
If you go into the article, he was removed from his Saturday start after just 65 pitches. He stayed an extra night in Miami while the rest of the team traveled to Cincinnati for the upcoming series that starts tomorrow. He's going to be examined. It's an arm injury. The elbow epidemic is rampant across Major League Baseball. There's no specifics whatsoever yet on what said injury may be.
No, I know.
But he's been incredible for the Guardians this year.
They didn't stipulate elbow or shoulder, did they?
No, it just arm.
Just said
he's going to get his
injury.
arm looked at. So
I immediately went to elbow because that's what's going around. It certainly has affected Guardians pitchers a lot. I like your wristband, by the way.
Thanks.
Watch band. That's nice.
Well, that's devastating.
Yeah,
if he misses any sort of time.
You know, we were having a conversation last week and you weren't here, so I'll sort of call back to it. We had I think it was a super chat that wrote into the show. Bull said that there was a media member in Cleveland that he didn't want to name, but he knows, and he reached out to this media member who had said, just imagine if they could get more out of Ben Lively.
Yeah.
And Bull immediately reached out to him, and he brought it up to us on the show, and I'm like, get more out of Ben Lively.
He's got a sub-3 ERA.
Like, what they've received so far from Ben Lively is why this team is in first place, quite frankly.
Yes.
They're up by 4. I think he's got 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
He's 6-2 with a 2.59 ERA.
I mean,
that's insane.
This is ace caliber numbers almost. He's a B pitcher, top of the front of the rotation for sure. And now the irony of it is they may be staring at losing him for a while. They can't afford that. They just cannot afford it.
No. What's odd, and I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead because we don't know the location of the injury.
Right.
But,
could be arm, or shoulder, could be elbow.
But most of the severe, dramatic injuries that lead to Tommy John occur within the first 100 days.
They do, usually.
I thought that we were, for the most part, out of the woods with that.
Not quite. We're approaching it.
But if you count spring training, we are we not?
Well, if you count the 30 days leading it basically, it would be count March, April, May. That's 90.
Yeah.
We're at June.
Boy, we're right on the
10th.
fringe.
June
of
10th.
We are
100 days.
Day 100.
Yeah.
And so we're certainly at the. But you're right.
You know that better than anyone.
I always say that if you get past the middle of June, you're probably not in Tommy John type territory.
Yeah.
You might have a shoulder, but it's just bad timing.
We're just
bad
speculating on that because we don't know the.
Yeah, we don't. Could be shoulder. We don't know.
But
I hope whatever it is, I hope it's not serious for his and the team's sake.
Can we put an APB out on Gavin Williams?
Man,
like
I know.
what? This was supposed to be a 2-week thing.
I know.
He was supposed to be back in mid-April.
Yeah.
It's June.
Well, isn't he at Columbus?
Yeah.
He had his third rehab start yesterday.
He's got to be close.
What were the numbers? I meant to look and didn't.
His third rehab start yesterday, 50 pitches, 33 strikes. He went 3 innings, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts.
I mean, if he's at 50 pitches, he's still 2 weeks away.
Yeah, well, it all depends. You want to stretch him out slowly and you want to bring him back slowly, but I can't imagine they're going to give him 3 more starts in Columbus. I just can't.
Well,
especially if Lively's hurt.
If he's at 50, you go to what, 65 in the next one? And then maybe you
go to 80, and then you're free.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, so that's 10 days.
I mean, I don't know. That's
maybe you get to 65 and bring him up if you got nobody else.
I don't know if we have the same physical therapist. I use the Guardians guy for my procedure. I'm without a pitch count now.
Yep.
I'm 4 starts in. And I threw Saturday. I didn't start. It was the first game I didn't start. I just came out of the bullpen. I actually went 7, 8, 9. And I was at my 75 count limit.
Yeah.
This was my last appearance before I can now be no pitch count. and I only threw like 40-some pitches in 3 innings, and I'm good.
Yeah.
And if he's using the same physical therapy schedule that I am, and I don't know, he's a major leaguer, and there's a hell of a lot more at State, and he throws a lot harder. Maybe he is. They're going to bring him along a little slower, but I'm not sure. My fear, though, with the elbow, I have it with myself. If it's there, it's never fully right.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not entirely clear on what the injury was with Gavin.
Well, it was elbow.
Right.
But
what?
Yeah, that's the question.
And
see, they don't give you specifics.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had the 10-jet procedure that I had. I know in talking to the Guardians team about my issue that they had said that they've done this and they've had quite a bit of success with it.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Maybe is the rubber on the tire getting thin now?
Yeah.
And it works for a bit and then it wears off.
Yeah.
I don't know that he had it. This is total supposition.
Right.
They're not allowed to tell me who's had what. Those are HIPAA things. And the other thing with, I don't know if Shane Bieber had that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know that they were dealing with elbow issues, and short of a UCLR, which is a 15-month rehab, this is a shortcut that's supposed to get them back and get them going earlier.
Yeah.
Now, is a Band-Aid as good as a new skin patch?
Right.
I don't know. We're finding out in real time.
Well, certainly Gavin's not ready now. And if you'd imagine Ben's going to miss some sort of time. You don't come back to Cleveland and then they say, okay, you're good. And
He's missing one start. I mean,
yeah, he's going to miss some time. Even if it's brief, even if it's a short IL stint or whatever. I don't recall a guy ever going back and then saying, yeah, you're good, we'll see you on Tuesday. So
no, it doesn't work
that way. So they're going to have to come up with something in the interim until Gavin is ready. I would have to imagine Gavin is still a week and a half out. At least you're going to have to figure out.
I would think 2.
Yeah.
I would think 2 starts.
Yeah.
So if he went yesterday, he'll probably go Thursday, maybe Friday. I don't know what their schedule looks like.
Friday.
Just say Friday, and then perhaps the following Wednesday, and then maybe he would be ready for a Sunday here 2 weeks from yesterday.
Yeah.
I would take that if we could get him then.
If you can finagle the next couple of weeks, bullpen day occasionally, Xavier Curry. I don't know.
No, you know what? You do what they have done, and that's you mix and match.
Yeah.
And you probably lean a little heavier on the bullpen, which is scary.
You can only do that for a short amount of time.
You pay that piper at some point.
Yeah.
And it's typically in August, in the dog days when the heat is there. Guys get dead arm.
Yeah.
And they're over the inning consumption where they want to be for their bullpen.
Yeah.
Both total and probably with everybody except for maybe Class A. Individually, they're running hot right now.
It leads to, again, we've talked about this. I've talked about it with Adam multiple times. It looks like they're going to have to make a move for some sort of arm. You would imagine at the deadline.
I can't imagine they don't.
I don't know. I know they don't want to go that route. You don't want to pay those prices, especially the premium at the trade deadline. How much more expensive even a middling guy
is. And Bauer is still is absolute no call.
Will not. You will pitch for the Guardians before Trevor Bauer will pitch for the Guardians.
Yeah. Well,
so
I'll have him come out and scout me Sunday.
Jay, I got a question for you guys real quick.
Yeah.
So I just reread
That's funny.
Paul Hoynes' article again just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Right. Did he specify elbow or shoulder?
No, he didn't, which I don't ever want to be, glass half empty as opposed to half full guy, but he's coming back to Cleveland to get more tests on an injury they won't disclose any information on. That's usually not good, right?
No.
I just want to make sure I'm not reading that wrong. That's typically not good.
Yeah.
And the Guardians are famous for downplaying injuries. Again, Gavin Williams being a perfect example.
Yeah.
They downplay injuries in the beginning.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
By the way, I mean, there are teams that are transparent. There are teams that probably are overly transparent when they don't need to be.
Yeah.
But I'm a big fan of more information. You don't have to come out and, specify everything. But the fans have a right to know. They're out supporting this team this year.
Yeah.
They have a right to know. And hypothetical.
Yeah.
Are you more likely to believe that it is an elbow because they're not disclosing it and they don't want more elbow problems in the organization?
Well, no, I don't know.
You don't go that far?
It's going to come out eventually. If it's elbow, it's going to come out.
No, I know it will, but why not just say it now?
I don't know.
Like, there's been a lot of elbow problems with this team.
Yeah.
A lot of elbow.
Across baseball.
Gavin Williams, Shane Bieber, Tristan McKenzie. And you're right. Is there any talk about why? Is it spin? I think it's more spin rate than anything.
I think it's no one has the answer, or they would have solved it. Right?
Yeah.
I do think. I think you do have to look at the pitch clock. I think you have to look at how hard these guys are throwing. They're telling guys now, throw it as hard as you can. Just throw as hard as you can. I know
they are.
And that was never before that. And how hard, you were talking about this, how hard they grip pitches now compared to before of hold it like an egg. That's gone.
Yeah. And by the way, when you grab a tennis ball and squeeze it, and the harder you squeeze it, the first thing you're going to feel is right here.
Yeah.
Your flexor tendon, your UCL. That's what you're engaging when you're gripping hard. And that's what's going.
And there's certain teams. I mean, Tampa Bay has had an epidemic of elbow injuries, and they're finally.
And aren't they our mirror organization?
Yeah, but it has wrecked their season. Like they're going to probably be sellers at the deadline.
Well, it wrecked our season last year.
Yeah, all of their top pitchers have had Tommy John within the last 12 months, 12, 16.
Right.
Shane McClanahan, Jeffrey Springs. And these guys are coming back now. Well, McClanahan won't be back till next year. Springs will be back probably in about another month or so. But I just think, I've said it before, I think there's something about the way that they are having their guys throw sliders.
Yeah.
And the Royals are another example. And the Royals have ties to the Guardians. They took all their guys.
Yeah.
And the way that they're taking these guys that were journeymen, that were just middling pitchers, and have turned them into bona fide studs.
Look what he's doing this year.
Lively here, yeah. Cole Reagan's in Kansas City. Springs in Tampa. These are guys that were just arms. They were just guys. Chris Bubich was a highly thought of prospect with the Royals for years. Nothing ever came of it. Last year he had a breakout. 3 starts in, Tommy John.
Yeah.
And he's another one that's getting close now. But I don't know if it's the way that they're having these guys throw sliders. I don't know what it is. But you look at Cleveland, Tampa, Kansas City, and Seattle's got a really good pitching development thing too going.
Yeah.
But they really haven't had. I'm talking off the top of my head. I don't recall Seattle
having
injuries.
I don't remember them. They may have, and I missed it. But
those 3, and Kansas City hasn't been hammered with injuries to their pitchers. I don't think
it seems like Tampa and Cleveland. I mean, they are. It's almost an epidemic.
It's everywhere. It's all across.
It
baseball.
is sprinkled, but it seems like these 2 organizations have been hit particularly hard with it. I don't know what the true answer is. I don't know if it's pitch clock. I don't know.
Right.
You're increasing. You're keeping the same number of reps, but you're shortening the span.
Window. Yeah.
What physiological effect does that have on the body? You'd have to talk to a muscle guy.
Now I don't know. I do know. Last year, I've heard people within the Guardians felt like the clock is what really impacted Clase. Clase struggled to adjust to the pitch clock. Well, this year he's back to Emmanuel Clase.
Yeah.
Like he has adjusted.
Karinchak didn't adjust to the clock either.
I think Karinchak was more sticky stuff as well.
Do you?
He's never been the same guy since they took the sticky away.
No, he has not.
So I think he was more sticky. Shane was.
Where's his injury stat? What's his injury status?
I have no idea.
I haven't checked on him either.
He's in Siberia somewhere. He's not even mentioned that I'm aware of. But I think Shane was another sticky stuff guy. Like he hasn't been the same since they cracked down on the substance.
Yeah, but Shane has
That's
had
when he lost a lot of his
moments
velocity
of
too.
Dominance.
Yeah, but he lost his velocity.
He did
off after that. But anyway, it's terrible news about Lively. They're gonna have to figure it out. Hopefully, Gavin will be back 2 weeks. Hopefully, no more setbacks. And they're just gonna have to figure out through the rotation, a couple turns through rotation, like you said, maybe Xavier Curry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. You're going to have to part with some prospects, part with some of these guys that you've gotten a look at that you're not sure. I don't know what kind of trade value Arias and Bo Naylor have at this point.
Deflated.
But the more I watch them, the more I'm realizing they're probably not there yet, and I'm questioning whether they're either going to get there.
Yeah.
And it's probably too early to do that.
Yeah, you just never know with these guys.
No.
On when
the light goes off, it goes off.
I don't think Naylor, they would move at all.
I feel like they're really attached to Bo Naylor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot I like about him, but man, you can't hit 170 and stay in the lineup.
Not when David Fry is doing what David Fry is doing.
Precisely.
And he is not elite defensively, but I don't think he's terrible back there.
He's serviceable.
Yeah.
In my view.
Now, obviously,
you weren't here when we talked about the pitch framing stat. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I know that Bo's.
Well, they're all so. I call it. I don't know what the official metric is. I call it calls one. Pitches one, strikes one, whatever, meaning WON. So calls that are pitches that are outside the box that are called strikes.
Chat. Yeah.
Yeah, and I brought that up last week. You weren't here, but number one at the time, and they're way over 94 now because just in the last week, and I've been paying more and more attention to it. They're getting them, and they're getting them in critical spots. They got one in a win the other day. Clase had 2 balls clearly outside the zone that were framed beautifully, both called strikes, both key spots.
Yeah.
They were at 94. The Mariners and the Yankees were second, tied for second at like 71. And then fourth was like 27.
Yeah.
There was this huge drop-off. And Seattle and Cleveland obviously have the vote connection.
Yep.
And New York is clearly prioritizing this from defensive catchers too.
Yeah.
But that's something I think all the other teams in baseball are going to start paying attention to now, that they've seen someone break away from the pack.
Yeah.
It's not a statistical anomaly. They're working on it. And they're conscious of it.
And the Guardians have always wanted elite defensive catchers. They're willing to trade the offense for the defense at that position.
Yeah, but when you've got, I don't know what his Hedges hitting, $130?
I'm not even sure it's that high.
Naylor's?
He's around 130, 125, 130.
Naylor's, last I looked, was at 175 or something?
Yeah.
I think if you combine Naylor, Jay, if you combine Naylor and Hedges, they're hitting exactly 300.
So it's 170 and 130, essentially.
No, not essentially. Exactly 170, 130.
Okay, that's what I thought. Now you look at David Fry.
Now here, and if you combine their OPSs, it's like 806. David Fry is 200 points higher in OPS than those two combined, and 33% higher in batting average.
So at some point, the conversation organizationally has to be had. Are we gaining enough defensively to keep this triumphant thing going? Yeah. When you've got a guy that's white hot, what do you want to do with a guy that's white hot? Keep him in the lineup every day, in the same spot if you can.
Yeah.
So this conversation I would hope is taking place already. Make Fry the everyday. Use Hedges as your every 4th or 5th to give Fry a spell. And I think you could potentially harm a young player when you keep him up and you reestablish the fact every day you're a $170 hitter.
Well, and I like the fact that, see, when we were at the game when Naylor got hurt.
Yeah.
And Vogt said after the game it was strategy, it was an injury that they wanted to get David in the lineup in that spot. That's why they took him out. But
so he could have continued.
That's what he said, but then he hasn't played since.
Right. That's why I wondered about that.
And it could be, you go to bed, you wake up, now it hurts worse.
Sure.
But it's also a nice little excuse to give him
Take a week.
Days. Yeah.
Sit and watch.
Clear your head.
We're going to let this arm or whatever the injury was.
Put him on the IL.
Yeah, that's what I would.
Call it.
You hate to send him down.
You don't have to embarrass them and send them down.
Right. But at some point, I understand the goodwill and the family connection, and I get all of that. But at some point, the lead is 4 now.
Yeah.
You're looking at losing a front of the rotation guy for a number of starts. 4 becomes none in less than a week, if you're not right. So I get all of that, but you've got to play this thing to win it.
But the pitching injuries is also why I wonder if you stay with him, because he is elite defensively, and you need that component right now, especially when you're as thin as you are at the rotation.
That's true. What they have to ask ultimately is the defense that we pick up overshadow the 130. He's hitting 200 points higher than Hedges and 160 points higher than Naylor. That's not just a little bit.
That's
if
crazy.
It was 220 and
double.
270, you live with it.
Right.
It's double.
Right.
And the power and the on base.
Sure,
and the
everything.
RBI, the production, it is. We're going to continue our guards conversation in 1 sec.